Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Career Talk. My name is Suresh Sharma and I'm an Agile consultant based in Netherlands. And at Career Talk, we invite industry experts from around the world to share their real experience with all of us. And today we are going to discuss project manager interview questions shared by our WhatsApp community members. And to help us with the questions, we have Kavita Ramakrishnappa with us. Kavita has 2 decades of experience in IT. She is a PGMP PMP certified and currently working as a program manager. She also author of the book Leadership Roles Are Not for Women. So friends, before we begin, if you are new here, please subscribe to our channel. We have tons of valuable content for you. And if you find this session informative, please smash that like button. So without further delay, let's get started. Welcome, Kavita. Thank you for giving us your time today. Kavita, over to you.
Hi, Sunand. Thank you so much for this quick and a very amazing introduction. And I'm so happy to be part of your channel, to talk in your channel, Career Talks. And yeah, looking forward for your questions.
Great. So if you allow, shall we start?
Sure.
Okay. So the very first question is on budgeting. So let's say you are working with developing the scope and deliverables for a new initiative that stakeholders are very passionate about. But then let's say there is a significant budget constraint. So how do you balance the stakeholder expectation with the budget limitation? Yeah, it's a tricky situation. Over to you, Kavita.
I know every project manager or a program manager can relate to this one, right? I mean, be it in whatever level you are, you can relate to this question so very well. And thanks for the question. It's kind of a thought provoking because we deal with it every day, but not sit back and think about this. How can we deal with the situation? Um, for me, it is more of a balancing act. When I say balancing, it is the stakeholders' expectations and obviously the budget. Because we would not have the luxury of having 20-30% buffer in the budget and things like that, because most of the projects are neck to neck, right? Uh, we call it negotiating skills of the customer, or is it because we overpromise sometimes, overpromise in terms of to get the deal, etc. So I think it is more of the balancing act, and sometimes, not sometimes, it's important to define the must-haves and nice-to-have. When we define must-haves and the nice-to-have, you would definitely focus on must-haves. That's where your skills or the experience comes in. So when you agree on the must-haves with the customer and say to haves, and that will help you negotiate further with the customer. Maybe in the nice to haves we can take it in phase 2 or something like that. Um, I feel it's more of the balancing act for a project manager, but at the same time, it's very tricky. It's a bit difficult situation at times when the customer is pushing you hard, and uh, he wants to get more from the vendor, because obviously any customer would want more. Um, so yeah, as a project manager, it is very important to define those must-haves, and stick to it and be assertive at the same time, and kind of be flexible as well. Yes, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, Kavita. Thank you. Maybe just to add very briefly, like maybe we can also just to in order to cut a few of our costs, maybe you can think about some other solutioning. For example, we can leverage our existing tools. Sometime it happens that we have so many licenses with the other team, but then we are not able to use it. We are not even aware about it. Maybe we can think about using some open source software, maybe some third party services that may reduce the development time and the cost. So yeah, of course, internal resources maybe we can utilize more efficiently. Yeah, so just on a budgeting part. And of
Yeah.
course I agree with you regarding that must have. If we know that, okay, maybe we can propose some incremental phased approach to them, that okay, we broke down their requirements into must have, should have, could have, and would have. and then we focus, or maybe we'll do a kind of balancing act between must have and should have kind of. And yeah, yeah, I mean, I think that's the best
That
approach.
reminds me of a project which I was part of a couple of years back. And customer said, okay, we want a application to be developed. And customer didn't have the budget. Okay, we did the proposal, and we when we submitted the proposal, customer didn't have the budget. So what we did is we proposed the MVP, that is a part of the solution to be delivered, which will serve the purpose, but then not the bigger application like what we proposed in the solution itself. So instead of just letting go of the opportunity, we can just try to deliver the value, and then uh, develop on that, because it brings confidence with the customer. It actually helps the customer to build confidence and trust. And definitely, we would go for the bigger project, the solution what we have proposed. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, yeah, great. Thank you, Kavita, for that. Okay, let's move on. So the next question is, let's say during your regular program review, you notice that one project is, constantly falling behind the schedule. So what action which you think of, like how you are going to rectify this situation, how you are going to investigate this problem, and more importantly, how you are going to report this to your senior leadership. Yeah.
Okay, I have always believed in transparency, be it with your customers or be it with your senior leadership. The transparency helps a lot, because if not today, tomorrow they would definitely know from some other sources. So it's always important to maintain that integrity. At the same time, when you sit with the project manager, and understand the schedule versus what exactly is the actual uh, project plan. I mean, not the project plan. When I say project plan versus what is actually the timeline, that will help you understand a lot of things. The more you ask questions, the more you get the information about the project itself. One thing. See, also when you're managing a project team, that's a team of project managers, it's kind of very important to guide them also, not just ask questions, not just throw some questions and make them find the answers. It's not that. It's all about how you guide them, how you mentor them, and empower them also to have that integrity. To showcase that integrity is very important. And customer can make out, right? Customer feels the pulses of each and every individual. Sometimes the customers are not they are not what do I say, they're not kids just to fake some information, or even for that matter senior leadership team. They always have uh, information more than us, right? So step to step guide is something, what I follow is mostly um, compare the plan versus actuals. Okay. After which you should investigate the root cause, but that shouldn't stop you from progressing. When you stop yourself from progressing and doing only the postmortem, it will not help anyone, neither the team or the project itself. So it's quite important. I'm stressing on this because of the experience I have gone through, and this has always worked for me, right? Being transparent, being having open communication, try to set expectations right with the team, um, in terms of budget, in terms of timeline, in terms of the scope, especially the documentation. That's quite important. And coming back to your question, I think when we are falling behind the schedule, um, we have to take a strategic decision. When I say strategic decisions, it could be check on the resource availability, check if we have engaged the right resources. Um, Most of the times, the resources would say, okay, I'm working on it, I'm working on it, I'm working on it. They might not ask for help. They would be trying to do R&D, but we don't have that luxury of time to do the R&D and um, to to you know to get the work done. So we will have to constantly check on them and ask them if they need help, assign a senior resource maybe to help them speed up things, um, and be on top of things, and also make sure they have accountability, because if they sit on the task for 3 days 4 days when the task should have been completed in one day, that's again a miss, that's again a big, we will be left behind the schedule, obviously. So all the project managers, I think we should be on top of things and ask, challenge the resource as to why it would take 2 days, 3 days, instead of blindly accepting the timeline also, because at times they also wouldn't know. Sometimes they overcommit also. There are situations where they overcommit. A task which needs 3 days, they might say, "Oh, I can do it by end of the day today." So based on that, you go and commit to the customer, or you put it on the timeline. So we have to actually check and analyze where we have left behind and pick it up from there, speeden up, or try to do a fast tracking, or some of the tasks where we can run in parallel, which has no dependency on each other. So these are the very project management basic things, which I feel every project manager should look into. But sometimes we do forget basics, you know, in the transactional, when we have so much of pressure that
True.
everybody are sitting on our head and say, "Oh, where are we? Where are we?" We tend to forget. I mean, we just blank out at times. It's important to take a pause and reflect on the journey itself, and then move forward.
True. Okay. So if I have to summarize, we have to work on implementing the corrective actions. So maybe we can set up a recovery plan with some clear targets. So we can develop a kind of catch-up plan that outline specific actions to get the project back on track. So maybe we can come up with the clear, realistic deadlines, timelines to guide the team's progress. And of course, we can consider adjusting the order of tasks. Maybe we can focus on critical path items that mostly directly impact the schedule of our project. And you also mentioned about senior leadership. Of course, you are also mentioned about monitor the progress closely. So of course, the frequency of check-ins and the progress reviews for the project to track the improvement, maybe we can increase that. And a regular monitoring with which will help us to detect if the some corrective actions are effective or not, and if any further adjustments are required in order to do that. And you also mentioned about the leadership. So what I feel that when we are going to report to the senior leadership, we can provide a summary of the issues, so we can briefly outline the delays, root cause, and their impact on our project timelines and the overall program. We can avoid unnecessary details, but maybe we can focus on what is important, essential for their understanding, and we can describe the action items that has been implemented to address the issue, along with any adjustment to the timeline or the milestones. And if required, I think this is also the best time to ask for some additional resource, or let's say some budget adjustment or some leadership support if required. And this is the time when we can do that. Yeah, I mean, of course, we can provide a rationale like why these resources are critical for the project success. And yeah, of course, we can come up with some regular updates with our leadership. So we'll ensure that we'll provide the regular updates on our project progress. And yeah, we work on the corrective actions. So I think yes, you have some you have touched base all the points pretty well. I'm just summarizing it. Nothing else.
Sure, sure. One more thing, just about the leadership as well as the customer. We need to make sure both are aligned and have the same updates, because
Correct.
In one of my project, it so happened that one of my team member was handling this project, and he was a junior project manager. And he was being transparent with the management, but he was not trying to. I mean, he had hidden some of the facts from the customer. But the management went ahead, and when they had a discussion with the customer, they assuming that customer knows everything. They just started revealing, and that was like one big escalation on the project manager, because some of the things we can't mention it to the customer. Of course, it is very internal, because the moment you mention it to the customer, it's like you are not trying to resolve it internally, but then you're calling for uh, trouble. You're inviting trouble.
True.
So always try to escalate internally, try to reach out for help. Of course, if we don't get any help, if we don't get any support, uh, we'll have to continuously ask for support, not giving up and saying, okay, I asked once, I asked twice, because everybody are busy. Everybody are dealing with their own things. So if you need some help, it is your responsibility. You need to own up that, because the moment the project is given to you, it's your baby. You need to manage it. You need to ensure that the baby, even if the baby cries, you need to make sure that you know what to give to the baby, and keep it smiling.
Wonderful. Great, Kavita. Okay. Okay, shall we move on to the next one?
Absolutely. I'm loving these questions. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So, because you're working as a program manager, so let's say that a project manager from a team approaches you, and then he has this concern that their team's workloads, affecting the program delivery. So, how do you address this concern regarding the workload of your team? But then, of course, we have to maintain the overall program timeline as well, right? So, again, how are we going to balance between these two?
Okay. So, if I may understand your question, it's mostly to deal with the cross functional teams, is it? Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe I mean, as a program manager, we deal with couple of project managers, where the project managers are dealing with their own projects. Okay, they might not see a bigger picture. They might not be able to connect the dots why the program is actually being managed in this way, or yeah, basically they would not have the bigger picture, or they might tend to lose track of the bigger picture, although they know about it, because the programs run for more than 1 year, 2 years. It is very easy for any project manager to lose track of what exactly is the bigger picture and the vision of the program. um, so one is at least a monthly meeting with the project managers to ensure we review, and we should reiterate the vision of the program itself. That helps in understanding um, if any projects are going off track, um, and if there is any dependency on two different projects or three different projects, if there's any different dependency, or if there is any delays um, in one of the project which is impacting another project, because most of the times the programs are run in such a way that these projects are interlinked. It need not have to be independent of the projects. So it's quite important to meet as a team and collaborate with them, and reiterating the bigger picture or the program objectives, and getting them on the same page, um, so that it helps each of the project manager to highlight their challenges, or to unblock any issues. At the same time, they can call out if there's any help required or resource alignment. Um, it so happened in one of my migration project. It was a big project. It was a program for about 3 years, because we had to move all the legacy applications into a AWS platform. So First thing first, we didn't have the database and we had to get in everything. So that itself was a project. Um, so until we get this database, or trying to understand what are the legacy applications we have, we had no way to start the program itself. So when you sit back and sit through uh, with the stakeholders, the primary stakeholders or the key stakeholders, to understand the start point and also the success criteria of the project or the program, reviewing it often, because sometimes, because the program runs like 2 to 3 years, sometimes it won't be relevant also. After a year or so, the technology is changing in this fast-paced environment. The technology is changing every day. And it's very important to just go back and analyze, are we still making sense? Are the objectives making sense? Or the program outcome, does it make sense even if we deliver after 2 years or 3 years? So these are the questions where we will have to discuss with the team and with the project managers, involving the project managers. I'm sorry if I'm going out of track from your question, but then these are the real time scenarios, real time issues where we
That's
face on the
perfectly
ground, right?
that's perfectly okay. Please share. I mean, it's perfectly okay.
Yeah. So, evaluating the team's capacity also should be one of the criteria to understand if the team needs any help, or is the issue related to the volume, or like more tasks, or the complexity of itself of the solution. And sometimes the resource constraints also, right? When they're working on a project, there might be a burnt out, and because of which they are not able to perform like they were performing normally. As a project manager, I think it's very important to know the pulse of your team, why they're not performing, or how they are outperforming, what is keeping them going, or why are they not delivering the tasks even if it is agreed. So it's people management is not easy, and I always say, it needs a leadership mindset. I don't call project managers as project managers. They are always the leaders. They always try to bring in the team together, although they don't have the right uh, title. But title shouldn't be the criteria to define your leadership mindset.
Wonderful, Kavita. Yeah. So if I have to summarize whatever you mentioned, so as a we should, at the very first step, we should meet the project manager to understand the specific workload challenge. Is it because of the task for the team, or is it like some critical dependencies that are raising these concerns? And we have to also identify if the this workload is only affecting one project within a program, or it's affecting the multiple projects, or it's a like a program wide issues which is spreading, right? So look at whether these delays are, are just likely or like already happening, or so we should assess the severity of this kind of issues. And then of course, as you mentioned, we have to review the task distribution and the skill fit, so we can examine if the task can be redistributed within the team or delegate to the some less utilized resource to some other project, things like that. And yeah, you also mentioned about reassesses the priorities and the timeline, so we can also evaluate if all the tasks are equally critical for the program's immediate goal, or is it like going to hamper the stakeholders, or is it going to touch base the sequencing of the low priority task. So that's something which we have to work on. And apart from that, I think one other important point which you highlight is the short term solution and the long term solution. So if possible, we can bring some additional resources or contractors, or let's say some cross-trained team members for those particular areas, just to temporarily to assist with the workload. Maybe we can also adjust our scope or the timelines. And for the long term, maybe we'll try to escalate for additional resources. So maybe we'll workload concern is going to affect in the long term, so then we can discuss with the senior leadership about the additional permanent or the semi-permanent resources for the team. So yeah, these are the few short-term and the long-term solution. Maybe we'll align the resource planning a little bit more better for the ongoing project or the future projects. So yes, I think these are the summaries for me from the answer which you given. Okay,
Sure.
yeah, great. So let's move on. So the next question is, you discover a potential risk that could impact the multiple projects within your program. So how do you assess this particular risk, and what steps do you take to mitigate it? And if you can provide few examples, that will be great.
Um, I always tell my team, a risk register is like your eyes. Basically, it will help you see through the project. The more risks you define, the more risks you mitigate, the more risks you accept, um, you will feel confident about the project itself. So never ever be scared of a risk, because I have seen some people hesitating to raise the risk itself. Oh no, Kavita, this is not a risk, this is like a potential risk. I told you, yeah, potential risk is a risk. Right? So term it as a risk. You have nothing to do this, I mean, nothing to take personally, right? Don't wait for it to become an issue, or okay, don't wait for it to become a big thing. And when you're able to resolve it, um, when it is small, it is easy to resolve and unblock it, rather than just sitting on it and not addressing it at all. Be it a senior resource who is engaged into multiple projects and he is also assigned to this project, and he doesn't have bandwidth. He knows he doesn't have bandwidth. Management also knows he doesn't have bandwidth, but then because of his skills, because we have, maybe we have only one resource, uh, they get assigned to a project, and it so happens that this team member is not able to uh, give his time for the particular project, because he assumes that this is a very least priority project. That is a risk for you. That's a biggest risk, because if uh, a senior resource is not able to spend time and deliver the tasks which he's supposed to deliver, that's a biggest risk for your project. You are not highlighting about him personally. There's nothing like personal attack or mentioning about his role as a chief engineer. Is he has no bandwidth. It has nothing to do with personally. It is all about the project. So all the project managers, through this channel, I want to give you um, this secret tip. Okay. Don't take anything personally, whether it is the customer escalating on you, whether it is a management escalating on you, whether you are escalating on others. Don't take anything personally. The moment you take it personally, it's nothing to do with the project. So it's always the project. It is not about you personally, whether you talk to them, or whether we just have to keep it very professional and approach it professionally, saying this person doesn't have bandwidth and we need to help him. You need to become a driver of this project. You need to see ahead of everybody. So that is something which most of us don't do. um, and when we identify the risk also, we don't evaluate the impact. Evaluating the impact is very important. What is the impact of this particular risk? Whether we will be going as slow as the snail, or whether we are just stand still. This is something, as a project manager, you need to deep dive and analyze the impact. And next comes the prioritizing. So when you prioritize, so you have 5 risks or 6 risks, you need to prioritize, because without a priority, nothing is priority. If everything becomes a priority, nothing is priority. So you need to prioritize, you need to communicate to the team and say, this is something we are prioritizing out of 5 risks or 6 risks. This is where we have to prioritize, because uh, the likelihood is high, or the likelihood is not that high, or it's low. So focus on the high impact risks mostly. Sometimes low impact risks also becomes a very big issue. That's very exceptional. Um, and the other things are like mitigation. Develop a contingency plan. Sometimes it's very important to have contingency itself, have a plan B itself, and can look at in terms of if we have resource challenges or anything. uh, Communication, uh, keep it very simple, and keep it not a high level. Don't use jargons to communicate where the team is confused of the high level jargons we use. I know we know a lot of things, but when we keep it very simple, it helps even a fresher to uh, understand and you know move forward with the project itself. So these are the couple of things which is on top of my mind, Sunant, and I can go on and on, to be
No, no,
honest.
that's perfectly okay. Thank you for that. Okay, that's great. Let's move on to the next one. So let's assume that as a mentor to junior program manager or a project manager, you notice that this particular guy is struggling with the delegation. So how are you going to coach them to improve their delegation skills? Yeah.
Um, Delegation is an art. So when I say delegation, it is like you have to trust that person. As simple as that. So when you have that trust, everything falls in place. It's again like, some people struggle with delegation. I understand. I totally understand, because sometimes they feel they're letting go of their control over things, which is mostly not the case, because when you delegate, you are creating your own backup, like, and for you to move forward. That gives you a space, that gives you a confidence that you can delegate anything to a capable person, or you know empower a person to pick up this task. And you have so much time in hand, you can pick up bigger opportunities. So when you have this kind of a mindset, you will never hesitate to delegate, because I have never worked with a manager who does everything himself. Okay, mostly because of the fact that he's busy delegating. When when you delegate, I mean, yeah, some people, they struggle. I have seen people struggling with delegation. It's mainly because of the trust issues, or maybe they themselves don't know how to do it, and they are learning, they're still learning. And the moment you ask them to delegate their tasks, they won't be able to guide the other person. Um, so, what I would recommend people to start with smaller tasks. Start very small, um, and try to see, and give them some time. Don't sit on them and try to micromanage, because that is not going to work. It will unnecessarily create pressure for both. So my recommendation is to start small, and also when you delegate, um, just set the right expectations. When you set right expectation, it helps the other person, and try to ask them, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable handling this task? And what is the support you need from me? So this actually helps the other person also feel confident to pick up the task. So it takes two hands to clap. So delegation is all about two people, coming into the same terms and setting right expectations.
Great, Kavita. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, let's move on. So this question is again on budgeting, but this is little different, I would say. So let's say during a budget preparation process, you encounter some discrepancies. There is some data mismatch with respect to your previous financial report, and that could now going to impact your future budget decision as well. So how do you address this issue with your team and with your senior leadership?
Okay, first thing first, we need to accept it that yes, there was a discrepancy. And see, until you don't accept it, you will be looking for reasons to cover for it. Okay, so my approach, or the way I approach things is forget about the person who has done a mistake. We need to address the problem, not the person. uh, because mostly we look at the person and try to attack them. Why you did this, why you did this. We are not progressing forward. So attack the problem and try to analyze how we can correct it if possible. Else, if it is not possible, take corrective actions not to repeat this mistake or have this discrepancy in the upcoming budget or upcoming project or the next project. Um, so when you don't accept and you start keep on dwelling on it, I mean, it is very important that we uh, take corrective actions strategically, as well as understanding why we did a mistake. Is it a human error, or is it something that has been overlooked, or is it something that has to do with the skills? Maybe sometimes we wouldn't have that skills, to calculate the financials are very very crucial, right? Sometimes even the pressure, people tend to make mistakes, or it could be a system error, or it could be somebody has overlooked it, or there is no reviews being done. There's a lot of reasons to it. But keeping the reasons aside, and also trying to improve on that, I feel once we take the corrective actions, we need to review it with the senior leadership team, having buying in their confidence, buying in their um, acceptance, that yes, we did a mistake, we learned from the mistakes, and we are not going to repeat that mistakes. When you have these three things in place, I think we'll be in a better position to manage such things, wherein we will build the customer confidence also. See, the moment you accept in front of the customer, yes, there is a issue, 50% of your issue is resolved. The moment you try to defend or try to say no, this was not our mistake, this is something a tool is done, don't give reasons. Yes, it's a mistake. Okay, we will correct from there. The moment you say that, customer, it also builds confidence in the customer. So try to accept and try to correct it, and try not to repeat it.
Wonderful, Kavita. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, let's move on. So you are faced with a situation where the quality of your deliverables are, not meeting the customer expectation. So what step would you take to address these kind of issues and prevent it from recurring in the future as well?
Okay, quality is like, I mean, I keep giving these examples, right? Risk is like eyes. For me, quality is like a blood. Okay. So if you don't have a pure blood, maybe it impacts all the organs in your body, right? So um, if you don't have quality in your deliverables, that will impact the project itself. Maybe for time being, you have delivered it, but if there is no quality, customer will never come back. So you're missing a big opportunity if you don't focus on the quality. So when I say how we can ensure that quality deliverables are, we focus on the quality deliverables. Maybe we should define, I mean, not maybe, we should have a process uh, to define quality, because each project is different. And the moment we have uh, 5 projects or 10 projects, the quality criteria may not be the same for all 5 projects. Okay. And it also depends on the nature of the project. It also depends on, you can't expect 110% quality. Yeah, there is a limit, there is a threshold. So you can't say, okay, I will give you 100% SLA or 100% success criteria. So you need to, there's always 1%, there's always like 99%. Why most of the SLAs are signed 99%? Because that 1% is still the tolerance levels. So we need to agree on that quality. You can't always have 100%, and there's no area of improvement, if at all, if I commit to 100%. Of course, practically and theoretically, they say 100% quality, but let's be realistic. You can't have 100% quality and there is no area of improvement at all. Or if at all, if the process says, okay, I will have zero errors in this particular code, that's not realistic. So you need to define the quality criteria for each and every project of yours, and make sure that we review that quality criteria, um, at least, if the project is big enough, like, if it is going for about few months, maybe we should have regular intervals to review the quality, and try to have the standards documents and the processes in place, templates in place, so that there's no room for human error. There's no, we have a predefined templates. We have predefined email templates or any kind of templates. Try to make use of the system. um, and it is like I always tell my team, make the system smart. Okay. And not you becoming smart. You should, the system should get smarter, so that, um, I mean, we have so many tools, right? Automation. We have so many things which we can automate. There are so many things that we can. The project plans can be automated here and there. Of course, you have to check, but it gives a quality deliverable. Um, so try to make use of the systems and tools. What do you think?
I'm with you on this. Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay, yeah, qualities come with the cost. So yeah, I mean, in most of the project, when we have all these matrices, so we have lower LCL and UCL, and of course, even the 99 which you mentioned is too much. I think 80, 80, 85 is also. Then we have to define all these matrices. So it's again a complete comprehensive work in itself. That okay, because quality come with the cost. Yeah, I mean we can achieve 100%, but then are we ready to spend
Um,
that much time, efforts on those things? No one can be 100%. Cool, good. Let's move on to our next question. This one is on reporting. So let's say you need to present some, comprehensive program update to your senior leadership, but then there are a lot of issues with your report. Like last minute, you find a couple of issues with your report. So how do you balance the transparency with the need to maintain a confidence in your program?
um, this is a very tricky one, right? To actually uh, try to keep it a bit confidential. Some of the things we should keep it to ourselves, and try to be as much as transparency. Like I mentioned, you can't have 100% transparency everywhere. So it depends on what kind of an issue you're raising. See, some of the issues, it could be that it is a big issue for you, but when management sees this from their level, it could be a very small issue. So it is very important to analyze those issues and report the one which matters. um, when I say one which matters is, if at all, if it is impacting the dollars, or if it is, which can be resolved in 1 or 2 days, not needing the attention of the senior management. Because we are opening a can of worms, right? When you are actually reporting all the simplest and, the simplest to simplest issues also, it will just make it too complicated. So choose your issues, choose the ones which you need help. Without their help and support, you cannot do with it. So choosing those kind of issues, and try to analyze, is this something the senior leadership team can help me resolve? Give that a thought, because not everything it has to go to senior leadership. Not everything. Like, if your team member is sick, okay, it need not have to go to your senior management, unless until he has got a dengue and he won't return back 1 week or 15 days, right? So that is where you try to resolve it internally and say, if you have any other resources, try to talk to cross-functional teams, try to talk to different project managers about the resources, if they have any spare resources, or if we can prioritize. So there are ways to deal with it. But when it comes to management, reporting to the management, it says that you should choose your issues, what you're reporting, and always begin with a high level overview about the program objectives. Because it's very important to get that objectives right, and then highlight the importance of these issues so that management can correlate it. When they correlate it, it will help you get more attention. Because if we highlight only issues and we are not correlating that with the objectives, it could be that, management doesn't remember everything, all the projects. When you correlate it to what is the impact of this issue, that is when you will get attention, that is when you will get help. That's one thing. As a program manager, it is very important to have a solution driven approach, not a problem driven approach. You should always think from the solution point of view. um, I know there is a problem, but if you're focusing on the problem, what is the solution? You need to bring in the right teams, right people, to identify the solution. um, and when you turn your mind or focus your mind towards solution, you will be able to unblock things for you. So that is something which has really worked for me. And when you highlight issues, highlight the success also, what you have done, what are the strengths, what is that we the achievements. It's just the issues. If you go with the issues, and not highlighting your achievements or strengths, then it's a big no no. Obviously, the senior leadership team would not know what is that you are doing to ensure that these objectives are met, and how much success we have achieved so far. So that gives them a picture. Okay, this person needs help. And when we highlight achievements, we are bringing that positive vibes into the environment. Start with your achievements, and then obviously you'll have to highlight the issues and concerns. uh, Pick up the high valued ones. When I say high valued, something you cannot resolve, something is out of your control. There's so many things in our control. There's so many things outside our control. So always have that thought process. What is not in my control? What is something that I can't do? I need management's help. So these are the couple of things, and present a clear pathway if possible. um, Presenting a clear pathway. See, if at all, if we resolve this issue in 2 days, this is where we get to. and this is where the timelines will improve or the timelines will take an impact and things like that. So you'll need to have a clear pathway. And last but not the least, don't forget to ask if they have any questions, because it's very important. Mm, you are you're showing, you're projecting yourself that you're ready for any questions and you're prepared for it.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Kavita. And only one thing I just want to add over here is that as a leaders, you have to show that kind of confidence to your senior leadership as well. That I mean, it's important to be transparent about the issues, but then it's equally important to demonstrate that leadership, right? So you have to reassure your senior leadership that you have a control over the situation and that you're committed to delivering the program objective, despite all these challenges which is team is facing. And maybe we can also point out the capabilities of our team, and their strength, as you also mentioned, their wins and things like that. That okay, though we are struggling as a team, but then we have the right people in place to solve the problems, right? So that will give you and then your senior leadership that kind of confidence that yeah, things are not that great, but then yeah, it is, people will turn it in a positive way in a long term. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one incident here. Okay, may I? Do we
Yeah,
have
please,
time?
please. Yeah.
Okay, so there was a project manager. He was handling a high visibility project. Okay, and everybody were asking him what is the update, what is the update, because his project has a lot of dependency on other projects. So until he finishes this, there were a couple of things which was like shelves. So this guy always reported it as green, 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 green. Yeah. Wherein the management themselves know it is not green. Okay. So uh, when you just project yourself as green, I know it is very tempting to put everything as green, but it needs courage and it needs confidence to show some of the things that are in red also. Red is a beautiful color. Okay, so we need to embrace that red. We need to embrace uh, the issues, and it's not always a sea of green. If at all, if everything is green in the project, then I have my own doubts.
Yeah.
So
It can't be possible that everything is green in any
absolutely,
project.
try to include a dash of red. So don't hesitate for the red and don't be scared of red. Through your channel, I'm telling all the project managers listening to this.
Great. Thank you, Kavita. Okay, let's move on. Let's take the last question for the day, which is, let's say you need to ensure that all your financial decisions and records adhere to the legal regulation. So how you are going to implement the processes to achieve this compliance, let's say with respect to your managing your program budget and things like that.
Okay, I'll take a pause here because when we say, I mean, I need to clarify this question. You're asking about how do we ensure uh, financial
Decisions and the records.
decisions.
Yeah.
Okay, and the records alignment. Okay. Um, so basically, it's the strong process, because when the financials are included, we need to have clear, um, policies and procedures. Say, for example, you're traveling and your travel cost has to be reimbursed. So if you don't have a process, if you don't have a procedure, you will go and book a business class, which is not required, or maybe you're not entitled to it. So it's all about defining. Firstly, it is all about defining clear policies and procedures so everybody understands it. Uh, Next is educating them about the procedures and the policies, because just writing the policy and procedure will not help. Training them on the procedures, no matter what, even if this is for the for any process also. Training people is very important. Making them aware about the policies and procedures is very important. So these are the two things which I could think of, and the other thing is, implement those policies and procedure. Don't restrict it to books. or just don't restrict it to the document. You know, preach what you follow, follow what you preach. This should be the mantra. And when you define a policy, stick to it. Of course, if there is an area of improvement, of course, if there is anything that needs to be revised, you need to have, uh, you need to ensure that you get a buy-in from the stakeholders who were involved in creating these procedures and the policies. Um, the other thing I could think of is, obviously consistency is very important in following these procedures and the policies. Um, Also the audits. I think audits help us to uh, find our blind spots. You know, if possible, or an external audit or somebody external to the team performs the audit without any bias. So that really helps. And documenting the feedback and improving on that feedback uh, will help taking financial decisions and reporting also. When you report, again, it needs a fresh pair of eyes to review it. So no matter how many times you have done the document, financials are quite critical. So it's always good to have a reviewer, not necessarily the same reviewer always, but it definitely needs a fresh pair of eyes to review these reports, especially if it is going to the customer or if it is going to the senior leadership. Because once it goes out of your inbox, it can get anywhere. I mean, the senior leadership team can forward it to, the customer or another senior leadership team. So it goes places. So you need to be very mindful of it before submitting. Also, make sure it is reviewed by and hold the reviewer accountable. Um, because the moment you are not accountable, he or she would say, "Okay, it's all good, send it out." So defining those roles and responsibility of the reviewer, of the preparer, it's quite important.
Yeah, Kavita, thank you. So yeah, I mean, I think as a project manager, whenever we join any project or program, we should familiarize ourselves with all the specific legal, tax, and regulatory requirement that apply to our program. And it can be anything. It can be industry standard, it can be government regulation, it can be financial reporting standards, it can be compliance with maybe your local or state or federal laws, and it can be anti-bribery laws, it can be your procurement laws and things like that. So there are a number of things. Of course, whenever we join any new program, there are a lot of trainings, mandatory trainings, which are supposed to be there, but don't just take them as a training, but then spend more time to understand. If you are not familiar about any specific regulation, if you have any doubts, please check with your senior leadership, because you never know. One mistake and your organization can have a lot of penalties. So avoid these things, be a little careful, especially when dealing with these kind of regulations. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so yes, I think we have reached end of our session, Kavita. So thank you for joining us today. And friends, we hope you found this session helpful. Don't forget to leave a comment and like this video to show your support. And yeah, please subscribe and become a part of our Career Stock family. So till then, see you in the next session. Thanks everyone, and thanks Kavita one more time.
Thank you, Sunan. Thank you for having me here, and it was pleasure talking to you. And also, it's thought-provoking questions, and I
Thank you.
hope your viewers enjoy it as much as I did.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, Kavita.
Thank you.